The year was 2154. Space travel had become common, and humans had started living on far planets. Ethan Cole worked as a diplomat for Earth Command. He had been sent on many missions before, but this time it felt different. He was sent to a planet called Lysera. The planet was far and cold, with glowing skies and floating stones. It was home to a strange alien race known as the Varelians. Ethan stepped out of the ship and looked around. Now the air was thin but safe. Varelians were waiting. They were tall and quiet, with smooth skin and glowing eyes. Their leader stepped forward. Her name was Lyra. She looked like a human, but not completely. Her eyes were brighter. Her voice was calm but strong. Ethan and Lyra began talks between humans and Varelians. The goal was peace and trade. At first, the talks were slow. The Varelians spoke little. They used signs and quiet tones. But Lyra seemed different. She watched Ethan closely. She listened when he spoke. Slowly, they began to trust each other. One night, a storm hit the area. The winds were loud and strong. The sky turned dark blue. Everyone was ordered to stay in safe shelters. Ethan found himself in the same shelter as Lyra. They sat close, waiting for the storm to pass. The shelter was small and cold. Lyra looked at him and said, "Do not worry." Her voice was soft. Ethan nodded. Not just about work, but about life. Lyra told him about her planet, the quiet songs of the wind, the way the stars moved above their cities. Ethan shared stories from Earth about trees, music, and oceans. They both laughed at small jokes. They both were quiet at long moments. The bond between them grew. It was strange but real. Then the storm ended. The talks between Earth and the Varelians finished the next day. Agreements were signed. It was a success. Ethan was praised by his team. But something felt unfinished. He searched for Lyra before leaving, but she was gone. No one would say where. He tried asking others, but no answer came. It was like she had disappeared. Ethan left Lysera with questions in his heart. He looked out of the window of the ship as it flew back to Earth. He thought about her, about that night, about her voice when she said, "Do not worry." He did not know why her words stayed in his mind. Back on Earth, time passed, but he could not forget. Something inside him had changed. Sometimes he dreamed of her. Sometimes he felt a sharp light behind his eyes, like a memory he could not reach. Then, one day, he got a message. It was sent through secret channels. It used both human and alien signs. It had no name. It simply said, "Prepare for life." Ethan stared at the message. He felt cold. Then he felt a strange warmth. Did not understand, but he knew it had something to do with her. It's Lyra. With Lysera. Earth Command called him back. A new mission to Lysera was starting. A science team was being sent. Ethan was asked to join as an advisor. He said yes. He did not know what he would find. He did not know if Lyra would be there. But he knew one thing. He had to go back. Deep in his heart, he knew this was only the beginning. The stars outside his window blinked like quiet answers. He closed his eyes and remembered her voice. "Do not worry." He whispered the words to himself as the ship left Earth again. Ethan Cole sat alone in his quarters on the ship, heading back to Lysera. The stars outside the window were still and cold. He looked at the message again. Prepare for life. He read it over and over, trying to understand what it meant. It was not signed, but he felt it had come from her. It's from Lyra. The ship landed on Lysera after 6 days of travel. The planet looked the same. Cold skies, floating rocks, soft light in the air. But something felt different this time. The welcome was quiet. A small group of Varelians met them. None of them spoke. They just nodded and led the team toward the city under the cliffs. Ethan stayed close to the scientists. He listened to their talks, but his eyes kept looking for her. For Lyra, she was not among the group. No one spoke her name. It was like she had vanished again. The team was taken to a new Varelian base deep in the polar region. It was hidden under thick ice. The air inside was warm and filled with low hums. The Varelians walked with calm steps, never in a rush. One evening, Ethan got a message on his personal tablet. It had no sender, only a time and a location. Midnight. Far chamber. East wing he went. The halls were empty. Lights flickered. He reached the door. It opened without a sound. She stood there. Lyra. She looked the same, yet older. Tired, her eyes still held that strange light. She did not smile, but her face showed peace. "You came back," she said. "I had to," Ethan answered. They sat across from each other. No guards, no cameras, just the soft sound of the machines around them. She spoke slowly. She told him that the message was from her, that she had watched him from afar. "Why?" he asked. "Why did you leave before?" She looked down. Her hand shook a little. "Because something happened," she said. "Something new, something rare." She stood and walked to a panel. The wall opened. Behind the glass was a small room. Inside was a bed. On the bed was a small figure, asleep. Ethan stepped closer. His breath caught in his chest. It was a child. The child had soft skin like his, but the eyes, even closed, glowed faintly. Small lines on the skin shimmered with light. The shape was human, but not fully. It was something else, a mix. Lyra stood beside him. "This child is yours," she whispered. "And mine." Ethan could not speak. His mind tried to find words, but none came. "I did not plan this," she said. "It was not part of the mission. But after that night, something changed. I felt it, and later I knew." Ethan touched the glass. His hand shook. The child stirred. One eye opened. It glowed a soft blue. "It was not just a child," she said. "He is the first. A bridge." Ethan turned to her. "A bridge between our worlds," Lyra said. "He carries both out, and he is not safe here. Not with my people. Not with yours." Ethan felt a cold fear rise inside. "What do you mean? They want to study him? Control him? Use him? Both sides?" "He is more than they understand." Ethan stepped back. His heart raced. The room felt too small, too quiet. "Why tell me now?" Lyra looked at him, eyes filled with sadness. "'Cause I cannot protect him alone, because... ... She walked to the glass and placed her hand against it. "Because you're the father now." Ethan felt the words hit him like a wave. Everything around him faded. Only the child remained. He knew nothing would be the same again. Ethan could not sleep that night. He stayed in the same room, watching the child through the glass. Questions filled his mind. He had come to Lysara to help with science talks. Now he was being told he had a child. It's not just any child, but one who was half human and half Eurelian. The next morning, Lyra showed him how the child lived. His name was Kale. He did not speak yet, but his eyes followed every move.
Nice.
He could move things with his mind. Small things at first, like a cup or a stone. Lyra said he was learning fast. "He feels everything," she said. "Even your fear." Ethan tried to hide it, but it was true. He was afraid. Not of the child, but of what others might do. If Earth Command found out, they would take Kale. They would test him, lock him away. The Varelians might do the same. That night, Ethan sent a message to his old friend Mason, who worked in the Earth Security Office. It was short and hidden in code. "We need to talk. Trust no one." The next day, guards came. Not Varelians, but humans. Soldiers from Earth Command. They asked Ethan to come with them. He followed without a word. Inside the command center, a tall officer named Grant stood waiting. He looked sharp and cold. "Mr. Cole," he said, "we have been informed about a child. A hybrid. Is this true?" Ethan did not answer right away. "Where did you hear this?" "It does not matter," Grant said. "We want to see the child. Now." Ethan stayed calm. He is not ready. He's not safe. Grant stepped closer. "That is not your choice. Earth Command has full authority." Ethan looked into his eyes. He saw no care, only control. "He is not a weapon," Ethan said. "He is evidence," Grant replied. That night, Ethan went back to Lyra. She already knew. "They will come soon," she said. "We must leave." Ethan looked at Kale. The boy sat quietly, drawing light shapes in the air with his fingers. He looked peaceful. "Where can we go?" Ethan asked. Lyra pointed to the north. "There is an old outpost hidden. We will be safe there for a while." They packed quickly. Lyra carried Kale. Ethan took food and data files. They moved fast through the ice tunnels. The wind outside was sharp. The sky was dark. They walked for hours. Behind them, ships flew low, searching. They reached the outpost by morning. It was broken, but warm inside. Machines still worked. Old maps on the walls showed parts of Lysera that few had seen. Kale slept beside a heater. Lyra rested on the floor, her face pale. Ethan stood guard near the door. His heart was heavy. He had no plan, only fear and hope. He looked at the child and thought about Earth, about how things had changed so fast. He thought about what it meant to be a father, not just by blood, but by choice. Lyra opened her eyes and looked at him. Her voice was weak. "You must protect him, no matter what." Ethan nodded. He knew now that there was no going back. Not to the life he had before. Not to the man he used to be. Outside, snow began to fall, silent and cold. But inside the outpost, a new kind of fire had started, a promise. He would keep Kale safe, no matter what came next. The cold night passed slowly. Ethan did not sleep. He kept his eyes on the door, listening for any sound outside. The child slept beside him, peaceful. Lyra sat against the wall, her eyes half closed. In the early hours, the wind outside grew louder. Snow blew against the windows. The hidden base shook a little, but it held firm. Ethan stood and walked around the room. He looked at the old control panels and dead screens. Lyra spoke softly. "They will search this area. We cannot stay here much longer." Ethan nodded. "We need a way off the planet. Do you know any old ships or escape pods nearby?" Lyra thought for a moment. "There is one. An old research craft hidden near the ridge. It may still work, but it is a risk." "We'll take it," Ethan said. "It's better than waiting for them to catch us." They packed the few supplies they had. The child woke up and looked at them. He did not speak, but he seemed to understand. He held Ethan's hand tightly as they moved through the snow. The ridge was not far, but the walk was hard. Wind pushed against them. The child used his energy to warm them. Lyra grew weaker with each step. Her breath was short. Her steps slowed. Ethan stopped. "You need to rest." "No time," Lyra said. "We must reach the ship." They reached the top of the ridge. Hidden under the ice was a flat metal door. Lyra placed her hand on a panel. It lit up. The door opened with a hiss. They stepped inside. It was dark, but the ship still had power. Ethan helped Lyra to a seat. The child sat beside her. Ethan checked the controls. Most systems were cold, but the engines still showed life. "We might have a chance," Ethan said. He started the launch process. Lights blinked. The ship hummed. Outside, the snow swirled harder. Then the alarm rang. "They found us," Lyra said. "They're close." Ethan looked out. Shadows moved on the snow. Soldiers, flashlights, voices. He ran to the back and closed the hatch. Then he returned to the seat. The engines began to glow. Shots hit the ship from outside. The child jumped but stayed quiet. Ethan held his breath. The ship lifted. Slowly, then faster. Snow flew around them. Lasts hit the side, but the shields held.
Aye.
They broke through the storm and rose into the sky.
Aye.
Ethan did not speak until they reached the upper clouds. "We made it," he said. Lyra leaned back. Her eyes were closed. Her skin was pale. The child touched her arm. A small light passed from his hand to her, but it faded quickly. "She needs help," Ethan said. "Too late," Lyra whispered. "My body is not strong enough for space. I knew this." Ethan shook his head. "But don't say that. Listen," she said. "You must care for him, teach him, protect him. He is the first, but not the last." Ethan held her hand. It felt cold. "Promise me," she said. He nodded. "I promise." Lyra looked at the child. She smiled. "He is light. He is hope." Then her eyes closed. She did not move again. The ship flew on. Ethan sat in silence. The child held his arm. The stars ahead were wide and bright. Ethan looked down at the child. He saw Lyra's eyes in him. He felt a pain deep in his chest, but also a strange strength. He did not know where they would go, but he knew what he had to do. He was a father now, and the child was the future. Ethan stood outside the old base, looking at the sky. The snow had stopped. Clouds moved slowly, showing the stars above. The cold wind touched his face, but he did not move. He held the child close. The boy was quiet, resting his head on Ethan's shoulder. The message had spread across the systems. People were talking. Some were angry, some were scared, but many were curious, and more were hopeful. Ethan knew the truth could not be hidden anymore. After Lyra's death, the mood between Earth and the Varelians changed. Leaders from both sides came to Lysara. They met at the same place where Ethan had once stood as a diplomat. But now, he stood there as a father. The talks were not easy. Some still wanted the child for tests, as some still feared him. But Ethan did not back down. He spoke clearly. He showed the child. He told them about Lyra, about her strength, about her death. Slowly, things began to change. One by one, voices joined him. A Varelian elder spoke for the first time in years. He said, "We feared what we did not understand, but now we see a future in him." Ethan and the child were offered a safe place, a new home. It's not on Earth, not on Lysara, but on a peaceful moon, where both races had agreed to build a joint colony. The child grew fast. He spoke many languages. He learned to control his energy. He asked questions about both his worlds. He planted flowers from Earth and sang old songs from Lysara. Ethan watched him every day, proud, afraid, but ready. Years passed. People still talked about the message, about the boy. Some called him the bridge, some called him the spark, Efta, but Ethan called him by the name Lyra had whispered before she died. Kai stood by the river near their home. He was taller now. His eyes still glowed, but softer than before. He looked at Ethan. "Will they ever stop fearing me?" he asked. Ethan walked to him. "Some will, some may not. But that is not your fault. You are not here to be feared. You are here to live." Kai nodded. "I want to help. I want to bring peace, like she wanted." Ethan smiled. "Then that is what you will do." A new ship arrived that week. Inside were teachers, builders, thinkers, people who believed in change. They came to learn. They came to teach. Kai stood in front of them. He told his story. He spoke of two worlds, of a mother who gave her life, of a father who stood by him, of a future that was still being written. People listened. That night, Ethan stood by the window, watched the stars. He thought of Lyra, of the bunker, where it all began, of her voice saying, "Do not worry." Kai stood beside him. "Are you proud of me?" asked. Ethan looked at him. "I always was. From the moment I saw you." Kai hugged him. For a long time, they stood in silence. Outside, the stars kept shining. And in the heart of the galaxy, hope was alive. Because once a woman whispered a promise, and a man chose to believe it.